Luke chapter 4, verses 5 to 8. Luke chapter 4, verses 5 to 8. This is what we call generally the temptation of Jesus Christ. And it reads, "Then the devil, taking him up on a high mountain," that's Jesus, "showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time. And the devil said to him, 'All this authority I will give you and their glory, for it has been delivered to me, and I give it to whomever I wish. Therefore, if you worship before me, all will be yours.' And Jesus answered and said to him, 'Get behind me, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only you shall serve.'" Now, in this temptation, the devil showed Jesus the three spheres that he controls. Three spheres that he controls. And he said that these spheres of control have been delivered to him. He didn't say they were created for him. He didn't say that they were his by right. He said they have been delivered to him. When you say that somebody has delivered something to you, it implies that it didn't used to be yours, but somebody gave it to you. So there was a point in human history that power was delivered to the devil. And just to summarize, that happened in the Garden of Eden when Adam and Eve sinned. Power was delivered to him. But the devil is speaking here, and he says that there are three components of the world system. Three components. And he says these systems have been delivered to him. Remember, Jesus did not rebuke him. Now, Jesus could have said, "The devil is a liar." He never said that, because Jesus acknowledged those systems were in his hands. The first is what he calls dominions. Dominions. The kingdoms of this world. Kingdoms refers to geographical territories and the people who live there. We just saw a display of many nations and the people who live there, and the populations. Kingdoms in this sense is like what we call nations or countries. In the days of Jesus, we didn't have states as we had now. Most of them were kingdoms ruled by a king. So Jesus says that the devil is saying to Jesus, nations or kingdoms, dominions are under my control. That's an awesome power. For somebody to say, I am in charge of the geographical entities you call countries or nations. They are under him. They've been delivered to him. Now, remember that all the kingdoms that Jesus saw already had kings over them, yet the devil said, I rule them. So it implies that although there was a physical king or a physical parliament or a senate ruling that particular kingdom, he had access to the kings and the senators and made them make rules to govern their nations as he would wish. So the devil says kingdoms or dominions have been given to him. Second thing he says have been given to him is rulership. Rulership. Rulership is the authority of this world. He said, all this authority I will give you. All this authority. Rulership allows you to bring things under control. And then the third thing he says has been given to him is privileges. Privileges. All the glory of this world. So he has the kingdoms, he has the rulers, and he has the privilege, the glory, the money, the beauty, the magnificence, the treasures of this world. In one moment of time, Jesus saw all the three: dominions, rulers, the glory, the privilege. And Satan says, I'm in charge of it. Have you noticed that the world system seems to favor the world? I mean, we believe we are the righteousness of God. We believe we are the head and not the tail. How many countries in this world have a born-again Christian as president? How many Christians are in our Congress or Parliament or Senate or whichever legislative body we have? I mean, when one Christian becomes something, the whole church rejoices because it's very rare. When we hear one born-again Christian, and most of the time they are not properly born again, they are just half born again, and is a president of a country, everybody goes, wow, he's a believer. How many leaders of nations are unbelievers? The majority. The majority. How many rich people are believers? Yeah, once in a while we find a couple of Christians who are believers. Some we want to own as believers. They themselves don't see themselves as believers, but we want them to be believers because they one day made a statement and said, I believe. And they didn't even say what they believe in. They just said, I believe. And all of a sudden we say, well, he's a believer. But if you read the top richest people in the world, you will not find probably the first 10, first 20 or so, you will not find one truly certified, bona fide, born-again, spirit-filled believer. None. Now, Satan says, it's been delivered to me, and I give it to whomever I wish. Does it mean because it was delivered to him, we can never have it? Well, Jesus did not debate that. All he said to him is, get behind me, Satan. I'm not going to worship you to get that. But he didn't say, I won't get it. He said, I'm not going to get it by worshiping you. So Satan says, if you follow my system, it will make you rich. If you follow my system, it's going to make you powerful. If you follow my system, you would have the nations of this world. Jesus says, I'm going to have the nations of the world, and I'm going to have the wealth and the glory in the kingdom, but I'm not going to do it through your system. But pretty soon, one of these days, I'm going to get everything you offered me from you without serving you. And the important lesson to learn is we can get into the corridors of power without compromising to the devil. You can get into power without compromising. You can be rich without compromising righteousness. You can be powerful without compromising righteousness. The access to the kingdoms is to worship before Satan or worship before the Lord. The conflict of the Christian has always been whether to be a part of the world system or not to be a part of the world system. And how far can we go? How far can we go? You know, when television became popular in the 50s and 60s, well, it got to Ghana in the 60s. I'm not sure when television got to Nigeria and other African countries. But 59? You sure, Gandhi? Okay. All right. Okay. When it got there, it had been in other parts of the world for a bit earlier, because those days technology didn't get that far. Christianity's main base was in America in the 40s and 50s and in Europe. And the Christians at that time saw the technology of television and said, that's the devil's toolbox. Whatever made them think so, I'm not sure. Maybe they were facing their own challenges. But they said, that's the devil. And so, not only did they say it's the devil, they told their people, don't watch it, which is okay. But because they didn't watch it, they didn't also influence what went into it. So they divorced themselves from it. So people watched it, and the content of television was established without the church's input. Then in the 60s and 70s, they realized, this thing is not going anywhere, so we better get on board. But by the time they got on board, the technology had taken off, and Christian programming became just a fraction. I was reading some statistics about this country, and Christian programming, all Christian programming in America takes only 2% of TV time. Daystar, TV, TBN, Word, whatever, and everything everybody's doing, 2%. Only 2%. So you can say give all the big revelation on Christian TV, it gets nowhere. Because we were excluded. In the music industry, Christians have a very interesting way of looking at the world, because we have a dichotomy. This is this and that is that. And don't do this and don't do that. And I'm going to answer that question very soon for you. And so you look at music. I was talking to a top Christian musician. Top Christian musician. And he mentioned one popular artist in America, one popular singer, and he said, and I will not mention the singer's name, I'm not here to advertise people, I'm not mentioning his name, but he said, all the Christian recordings ever, from Mahalia Jackson right through to all the Christian artists and their recordings put together, is not equal that one person recording. All the albums. I said, you mean all albums? Yes. Jim Reeves? Yes. From all those times, and all the Christians, and all the Christian recording, he said, put them all together, they are not equal to one unbeliever artist's production. One, and she's not even the top of her game. So, we can dance all we want to our music. It's not scratching the surface of power and influence.
We've come to the end of this video. We believe you've been blessed. Remember, God's love is steadfast and unchanging. May His grace and peace be with you always. If you're new here, consider subscribing to stay up to date with our videos. Kindly share this video with your friends and families. You can watch this next video on your screen.